Germany. So this is a wonderful segue because we just had a question about the English-speaking programs at German universities. So now we have a whole presentation devoted to this topic. And I would like to welcome once again in our blue room our presenter, Marta Millar. Let me just reintroduce her again. Marta is the program manager for the University of Freiburg liaison-office. She studied at the University of Freiburg and at Penn State University, where she received a bachelor's degree in German history and international politics, and a master's degree in international affairs. Prior to her role as program manager, she also worked with the International Student Management Office and at the National Defense University with the public diplomacy sector of the U.S. State Department as an ambassador for the Penn State School of International Affairs. We'd like to welcome you again. You already turned on your camera, and I imagine you already turned on your microphone. So the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for being here. So, as you mentioned, I'm going to present on liberal arts and English top degree programs in Germany, and I will specifically focus on Freiburg, since obviously that's where my expertise is, but I'll have a few other examples. And I'm mainly going to talk about programs for bachelor's degrees, but I will have a list of master's programs at the end and contact information if you have questions about those. Yeah. So, first of all, one question that might come up is where is Freiburg? So you can see here on the map I have it marked. Freiburg is in southwestern Germany, in Baden-Württemberg, and it's very close to France and Switzerland. You can easily take a train or the bus there in half an hour to an hour. It is known for being the sunniest city in Germany. We have wonderful weather there. It's also very close to the Black Forest. It's kind of a big city that if you were wanting to spend a few days to explore the Black Forest region, you might start there before moving on to some smaller towns. And you get a really interesting culture there then. So you have things like the Black Forest cake or cuckoo clocks are maybe things you might have heard of from this region. But there's also some interesting blend of French and Swiss culture in this area too. So it's a unique region to study in and to live in. Here are some pictures of Freiburg. Most of these are from the inner part of the city, in the older part of the city. And so these are close to some of our campuses from the university. So if you were walking around as a student, these are some sites you might see. In the center, we have the Münster, so that's this cathedral-like building. So that's a big landmark of Freiburg. That's another thing people might think of if they've been there. And you can also see just to the left of the Münster, there are also these small little canals called Bächle. These are another famous landmark in Freiburg. They're from medieval times, and so another thing people might think of if they've never been there are the Bächle. These other buildings are the center of town and some other features. So it's just to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like in Freiburg. Okay, so I work for the University of Freiburg, or Ludwigs-Universität Freiburg in German. It was founded in 1457, and it is a research-intensive university. We do offer 11 different faculties or kind of colleges or areas that you could study, but areas that Freiburg is particularly strong in are medical sciences, renewable energy and environmental studies, and really anything to do with sustainability, engineering, economics, and theology and philosophy. And I have a picture attached here. That's one of the main buildings in one of our campuses there. You can see. So now I'm going to talk about the University College Freiburg. So this is a program for students looking to do a bachelor's. The University College Freiburg is a small liberal arts and sciences college within the university. There are about 300 students that are part of UCF, and there are 25,000 students that are attending Freiburg total. UCF is the first of its kind in Germany. We offer a degree entirely in English. It's a 4-year program, and each class has a cohort of 60 to 80 students with students from all over the world. And here you can see a picture of the inner courtyard of the buildings that UCF is in. So what is different about the UCF experience? A few different things. Like I mentioned, this is a 4-year program. It's structured more like a program that you would find typically in the US or also in the Netherlands. That's where the model and the idea comes from. And the idea behind UCF is that you're studying your major, but you're also going to develop critical thinking skills and learn to understand and solve challenges across different disciplines and in different programs. Normally, the traditional bachelor's degree at a German university tends to be 3 years and is focused mainly in your major. You maybe wouldn't take many classes outside of it. But UCF is different. Like I said, you take a broad variety of classes, and it is offered entirely in English. So there's a foundational year that you might do your first year with people from your cohort, taking courses all together that are more on things like how to develop critical thinking skills, how to develop research skills, or maybe understand statistics. But then you do also have your own major within the liberal arts and sciences program. So there are 4 you can choose from. There's history and culture, governance, life sciences, and earth and environmental sciences. So you can either earn a BA or a BS, depending if you're doing the first 2 majors or the last 2 majors. And these are some examples of different courses you could take within the University College Freiburg. And you'll note that they really try to combine thinking and learning from different disciplines. So if you take the global health example, this course, you wouldn't only learn, say, the more scientific aspects of global health and disease and how diseases develop or how you might try to cure them, but you also can see, but in this course you might also learn about like social aspects, like how do governments manage disease outbreak, or what are different political policy responses to managing disease. So that's an example of how these courses really try to challenge you to work and think with your classmates from all different backgrounds to solve problems with a global mindset. And I think that this approach is really attractive and empowering for students. I've spoken to a few alumni, one of who works at the UN currently, and she said that, you know, even though she was a history and culture major, she found this approach to be really empowering because she would learn how to look at, say, scientific problems and know how to communicate with her colleagues that, say, had a background in the life sciences and earth environmental sciences, and figure out how to work as a team to tackle real-world problems. And she also said it really made her feel like, you know, she could be given a topic or a topic from any sort of field and have to learn about it and write a paper about it in a week or 2. And she feels prepared to do that, and that's been a great skill to have now that she's moved on to her grad program and different internships. So the University College Freiburg also has opportunities for internships, research, study abroad, other parts of the typical college experience. So you can see here are some of our students studying abroad in Venice, in China, in London, in Russia in this case, and also some students do study in the US if they're not American typically. So you have that option to go for a semester, a year, just like at US colleges, and people typically do it during the 3rd year. However, Freiburg in particular also offers another opportunity to kind of add like a smaller study abroad or international experience. This is because we're part of this network called EUCOR, the European campus, which are these 5 universities you can see listed here, 2 in Germany, 2 in France, 1 in Switzerland, that are all geographically close to one another along the Rhine River. And these universities have a relationship with each other so that if you're a student, say, at Freiburg, but you decide you want to take classes in France for the semester, you can easily enroll or do research in Strasbourg or Mulhouse at the universities there. So this is a really great opportunity to study in kind of a European setting, not just a German setting. And this is available to any student at Freiburg University, not just the University College Freiburg. So if you're also here interested in like a master's program or some other degree program, this is also a possibility. And it's a really amazing network. And the European Union also approved a proposal for an expansion of this network for a group now called Epicure, which will be this whole network, but also universities in the Netherlands, in Austria, in Poland, and in Greece. So in the coming years, there will be also opportunities to do, say, virtual classes or maybe study abroad classes of some sort, or research collaborations with partners in these other universities. It's good to note that the University College Freiburg is a big part of this new development for Epicure, because they're looking to develop a European university college, and so that'll be based largely upon the University College Freiburg's network, and that program will probably be well integrated into it. Okay, so how does the application process and acceptance for University College Freiburg actually work? So one thing to understand is that the system is very different than the US in terms of timing. German universities like Freiburg tend to run on a different semester schedule. Instead of things being fall-spring based, Freiburg runs on a winter-summer schedule. So your first semester is typically in the winter rather than the fall. So that kind of changes the application timeline. The application period is in the summer. So if you're thinking about that from a high school perspective, it would be that you would graduate from high school and then you would start applying to this degree program. So the application period runs between June 1st and July 15th. What you need to have are your diploma, a resume or CV that explains your extracurricular activities, a letter of motivation / a personal statement, and the study orientation test. So first, about the personal statement. There are specific instructions on the website about that, but one thing that I was told to let American students keep in mind is one of the questions is something like, why are you interested in studying the liberal arts and sciences program? And a lot of Americans tend to kind of gloss over that question because we're familiar with this kind of system. But it's really important to include a sentence or two exactly like why you're interested in this type of education, why you find it valuable or it matters to you, just even a sentence or two, they said, to address that question. Now, the study orientation test or assessment is the other thing you need for your application. So that'll be found on the university website. And this isn't a test that you say pass or fail. Rather, this is like a set of modules that explains what the study program is like. So in this case, liberal arts and sciences. And you just have to complete a number of them to get the certificate at the end that says you took these modules. Again, it's not about do you know these facts about Freiburg, but rather it's just to help you prepare and make sure that this is the kind of program you want to do. Because it'll have questions like, or modules that'll walk you through like what kind of questions you might see on exams, what kind of job opportunities or experiences that students have had, or what you can expect life in Freiburg to be like. So it's really to help you broaden your understanding of what this experience will be like. And they just want to see that you've completed this and are making a thoughtful choice about applying. What you don't need is a fluent knowledge of German for this program. By the end of your second year, I believe you have to achieve the A2 level of German, which is kind of like a higher beginner level. But you don't need any German coming into the program, and there are opportunities to take language courses throughout the program. Plus, if you've been living in Germany for 2 years, I think that that's a pretty easy mark to achieve. I will say that it's fairly competitive, so there are about 60 to 80 students admitted each year to this program, but only around 10 to 15 of those can be Americans because there has to be a balanced cohort of international students, of European Union students, of German students. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Acceptance and registration. So like I said, you'd apply June to July. If you're accepted, you'd find that out in mid-August, and then you begin classes in mid-October. And students would, or first-year students would have kind of an orientation week too, where current students would walk them through the program and do some fun activities and help you adjust to life in Freiburg. The cost of living in Freiburg is relatively cheap compared to especially living in a larger city like Berlin and München. So it's around 750 to 800 euros a month. That includes housing. That includes a lot of perks for students, like a semester ticket for all of the public transportation, or just Freiburg in general is a university city that's kind of geared towards students, so there are a lot of like deals or meal specials for students as well. As far as tuition and fees, there's no large tuition costs like you'd think of here in the U.S. There's $155 per year semester fee that the university charges, and then the state that Freiburg is in, Baden-Württemberg, also charges a 1,500 euro per semester fee for non-EU citizens. So that's just one other thing to keep in mind, but still, that's a relatively low cost of the program. So some examples of two other bachelor's programs that are taught in English. I'll just go through them briefly since I'm not a representative of these universities. I can't talk about like details. But one that's similar to this is the liberal education program offered at the University of Lüneburg. This is a 3-year program, but it's taught in English, and the focus is again on kind of this idea of liberal education. You can see they have similar deadlines in the summer, but this one's only a 3-year program. Another example is Jacobs University in Bremen. I believe this is a private university. This is also a course or a program that's taught in English. It's 3 years. This one is focused on interdisciplinary learning. You can see that there are different kind of areas of study like mobility, health, or diversity that combine different interests like business or math or engineering, depending what you're interested in. The timeline for Jacobs University is a little bit different than the other two. I think this one is geared more towards attracting international students and also U.S. students, because you can see they use the common application and the deadlines are more similar to what you'd see here in the U.S. with the early November deadline. So I don't know if anyone is here to learn about master's programs. Lots of German universities now have begun to offer different master's programs that are taught in English that are especially appealing for international students, or maybe have international professors as the experts running these programs. At Freiburg, we have around 21 programs, I believe, offered in English. You can see them all listed here, and they're largely focused in things like anything with environmentalism or engineering. But if you have specific questions about a master's program, I'll have my contact info and you could reach out to me about that. So why should you study at the University of Freiburg? It's one of the top universities in Germany and the world. We've taught 22 Nobel Prize winners and have over 500 years of excellence. It's a great city to live in Germany while still remaining affordable because it's a university city that's geared towards students and university life. And you can study where others vacation on the edge of the Black Forest, in one of the sunniest cities, and travel to France and to Switzerland every weekend if you want. So here's my contact information, and I'm happy to answer any questions now at this time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marta, for this very interesting presentation, and what an interesting program. We do have a couple of questions to you. I don't think you mentioned, if you could address how many years is the course of study in the program?
Sure. For the University College Freiburg, that program is a 4-year program for a bachelor's degree. And so that's more similar to what you'd find here in the U.S. rather than German programs. The other 2 programs I listed from other universities, though, I believe are 3-year programs.
Is it possible to transfer into the University of Freiburg program from an American university, for example, after 1 year of study or after 2 years of study? In other words, would they take an American college credits and apply that towards the program at Freiburg?
So because that's such a uniquely structured program, I don't believe it would be possible to transfer into it, because I know that it's not possible to transfer even from another course of study in the University of Freiburg into the UCF program and start a year or 2 later. So unfortunately, I don't think that's possible.
I see. All right. You mentioned that there are German courses that are that students can take? Are these German language courses part of the program, or is it something that international students who need or want some help with German need to seek and pursue on their own?
Sure. So there's space built into your program requirements for electives, and I think some of these are supposed to be used for foreign language, so there's kind of that opening already. At the university in particular, there's a center called the Sprachler-Institut, or Institute for Language Learning, and this is really geared to reaching out towards international students at the university of all levels. They offer lots of different German courses there to help students. So I took a course with them when I was a student there, and it was students from all over the world, and we learned about like German literature and history, and that's really geared towards your language learning. So there are lots of opportunities with them to help you improve your German.
Is that something that the students have to pay extra, or is it covered by the regular semester tuition fee for the program?
That I'm not sure. When I was a student, you had 1 or 2 classes that were covered, and then if you wanted to take like extra classes that they offered at night, I think you had to pay a little extra for those. But it would be good to look into the requirements, because I'm not quite certain about that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Another question that came to mind is there something that students have to achieve each semester, like a minimum number of credit points, for example, or how are they evaluated overall in the course of the 4-year program of study?
Sure. I don't have the numbers with me, but there is a certain number of ECTS or credits that you have to achieve by graduation. And typically there are like set numbers that you should be aiming for class-wise as far as how many credits you should be taking per semester. So that's one way. Also, by the end of your studies in the final year, you also have to work on a master's, or sorry, not a master's, but you do have to work on a thesis. So that's also a project and a component of completing this course of study.
Mm-hmm. And we have another question in the chat. What is the contact information for the master's program representative? Is that you, Marta?
That's me as well. Or I can put you into contact with, I can answer general questions, and I can put you into contact with specific people for whichever degree you're interested in, but just reach out to me directly and we can talk about that. It was on the last slide. I don't know if we would be able to show that again, or if I should just put it in the in the chat.
Yes, could you please maybe type your email in the chat? We also have the contact information for all of our presenters on our Goethe-Institut website, where you saw the program. So if you go back to the career Booster Digital Career Day at the Goethe-Institut website, you will be able to see in the program the contact information of each presenter. But here Marta already has typed her contact information. Thank you so much for that. We officially have another 5 minutes. Is there anything else, some extra information that didn't make into the official presentation, but that you would like to share with us about Freiburg and about studying in Germany in general, or about this very unique program? And it will give the opportunity to our listeners to keep maybe writing their questions in the chat. Please go ahead.
Yeah, of course. I would say also that Freiburg is a great place to be an international student. There are, I think, around 4,000 international students at the university right now. Of course, maybe more in some programs versus others. But I know also that strategically the university is looking at trying to attract more international students over the next 5 years and increase those numbers. So if you go to Freiburg, you're only going to find more and more people that are studying abroad there or studying there for their whole degree. So there's a large, I guess, community and understanding of what it would be like to be an American student or just a student in general from abroad at the university. And I think there are a lot of just organizations in general that try to help you navigate that. As I mentioned, there's the Sprachler Institute when it comes to language learning. There are certainly a number of different English clubs or Stammtisch where people try to do language exchange, or you could go and practice your German, but also maybe talk to other Americans that are there and get advice from them or find out about their experiences. The university runs a bunch of different language tandem partners where you can submit your application with information about you, and they'll try to match you with, say, a German if you want to improve your German who has similar interests, so you could work out meeting up with them to practice your language. So that's another thing that the Sprachler Institute kind of facilitates. And then I know also that the Student Services Center has started an intercultural peer mentoring program where you could be matched with another German student who would help you walk through maybe some cultural differences at the university or understand those, which could be an asset to international students that are looking to kind of understand the German education system and start to fit into the university. So I think there are lots of different resources out there, so that can really help make the experience more welcoming for international students. And I would really say that it is a friendly and welcoming place and not an isolating place to be maybe an outsider.
This is very, very good to know. I think it's very reassuring for the American students and for their parents to know that there is a large supportive net and a number of organizations and clubs and initiatives that support international students. I was also wondering, I believe at least a few years ago it was true, and I'm wondering if it is still true, that the American students can work in Germany while studying. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know about that firsthand. There are definitely opportunities like to be research assistants or maybe have a paid internship of some sort, but as to like the visa aspects of that, that's one thing I don't know the answer to. It'd be better to speak to somebody, I guess, from the consulate about that. But as far as just like internship or research opportunities in general, another great resource that kind of popped up in my mind when you're talking about that is in Freiburg, there's the Karl Schwarz House, which is kind of like a cultural institution about American studies. And I know they are interested in having, interns and assistants each semester, particularly from the US, to maybe help with like book clubs or movie nights or English lectures. So that would be one opportunity. But as far as actually having a job there, I don't know the logistics of how that works exactly. Sorry.
I see. Well, no problem. Thank you so much, Marta. And as you suggested, for everyone who is interested in that question, you can probably go onto the consulate website or the embassy website of Germany here in the United States, and I'm sure they will have information about that. Well, thank you so much, Marta. Again, I think we're officially out of time for your time slot right now. Again, thank you so much for being here and providing the information about this really exciting opportunity.